And here we are. Thanksgiving, post Thanksgiving. Everybody out from under their. Okay, from under their turkey comas here. Lucas, you're here. Good to see you. Happy late Thanksgiving. Carrie, good old Carrie's here. Morning, Michael and Joel. And Chloe's here. All right. Good morning, all. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did. I was with family. And Ara, how you doing, my man? Long time no see, no chat. I guess, right? And we're waiting for Michael. And Mitch is here. And there's Michael. Boom. There he is. All right. You awake there, sir?
Just barely.
Just barely. Me too.
Happy day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. All right. So look who's here, Michael.
Yeah, I see him.
He's everywhere.
It's a good thing.
I know you were Nina saying he can't be everywhere, but I think he can.
Seems that way.
It's the power of coconuts, right, Ara?
Oh. I love that you know him personally. Like you've physically seen him, been in his presence, and not just a name that shows up in the chat.
Yep.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right. I interrupted. What were you talking about when I came in?
I was basically see. He agrees. It is the coconuts. So no, I was just saying hello to everyone, kind of doing this thing until my co-star of the show came up. So, but I wanted to get your take on your man Doug Wilson's declaration that him and his group put up. I assumed you were familiar with it. Gina asked me for the topic, and I know that I had been seeing different things about it. A lot of people that challenged what he was saying. A lot of people did like what he was saying. I managed to go through it a little bit, but I want to get your take on it. The first question is, why do you think it was necessary?
All right. Rewind, because I did watch something that was addressing it, but I'm not completely versed in it. Can you just summarize for me?
Okay. First off, it's written like baby boomer would write it. A baby boomer theologian would write it. It's very intellectual in its language. And basically they're responding. I've always heard Doug Wilson say that there are people in his camp that are extreme, because people have always come at him with his Moscow movement and the other, I guess what you would call a Christian nationalist, right? Movement, saying, are you going to control the people in your movement? So I assume this is, and would acknowledge, yes, there are some people in our movement that are on the fringes, I guess, and a little bit getting into too much of the nationalist fervor, I guess you would call it, or identity. So I think they've obviously gone somewhere into anti-Semitism. They've something he talks a lot about the post-war narrative, how people are questioning the post-war narrative. And so I don't know if you have been familiar with that kind of thing or not from that, because I know you're a big fan of his. I'm a semi-big fan of his. Not necessarily because of what he says, because he's saying something. Yeah. I mean, honestly, he talks a lot about how Christians should react to this culture, this hostile culture we have, right? this hostile political class and hostile cultural moment we're in that's hostile to Christianity. And he has an answer. He says, well, say this. This is what I say. This is what you should look at. This is what you should say. This is how you should say it. The best I ever get from my Christian leadership is, well, now if you're going to say something, don't put mean things on Facebook. Watch your tone. It's kind of a naggy thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, I understand, watch my tone, but what should I say? And most of all, because I'm pretty brutal on and ruthless on Christian leadership now, especially evangelical Christian leadership. You guys don't say anything, and you're nagging me about my tone,
Mm-hmm. Right.
which is, you're basically saying don't say anything, or be nice. Now just be nice. Well, that's not the 11th commandment. The Bodhi Balkan said the 11th commandment is thou shalt be nice at all times. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There. So I guess he is responding and dealing with the people in his circles that are going to extremes, I guess. So, and I don't know if you're familiar with that either. I'm thinking you know more about Doug Wilson's world than I do.
Well, I did. Yeah, he is one of the most important voices speaking today. I would say, in particular, because when he speaks or what he pays attention to transcends a lot of the kind of transcends churchism, churchy, just Christianese, right? The Christian culture, the Christian subculture, transcends that and transcends culture in general and history. Like he's knowledgeable of all of these fields, and he's just gifted he's gifted in distilling what's going on and presenting a kind of a God's eye view of things in very, very succinct and cutting and unabashed terms, right? He just goes straight to the heart of things. He's not mealy mouthed. For example, he's not maybe 13-week heartbeat bill. Maybe we should all go for that because at least, he's like, no, conception is where life begins, and none of it should happen. But I mean, he also believes in incrementalism. It's like, well, you're not going to get abortion from conception abolished, right? You're not going to get that in a one fell swoop. So you do need to vote for people who might be pro-abortion at 15 weeks, because that's a step in the right direction rather than being pro-abortion at 9 months, right? So it's all biblically based. He's savvy in all of his argumentation. He's a towering intellect, etc. So I'm a fan. And so I did watch something that was addressing the Antioch Declaration. So, but I'm like, oh, I need to watch more. I need to watch that other thing he's referring to, and I haven't watched it yet. What's the declaration itself? Is there a way to summarize that?
Well, I have it on the screen, actually. Let's see if I can do this, add it to the stage here. So I think I'm just going to go here. Yeah. Well, and this, here it is. So, and he summarizes, he has an introduction. Just as the Apostle Paul at Antioch opposed Peter to his face because he stood condemned for compromising the gospel of Jesus Christ by subjecting it to racial barriers, so this brief statement opposes the idea of some contemporary leaders and influencers seeking to introduce anti-gospel racial categories into the church. Okay,
got it.
So that's the first introduction. But here's what I say about the language he uses. The very first point of the statement is, I don't know if you could see it up there.
Yeah, I can see it.
We deny that the kingdom purposes of Christ and requirements of his words can be equated with the seating positions of political actors during the French Revolution, or that the modern antithesis between right and left is equivalent to the antithesis of God that God established in the Garden of Eden between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent, the kingdom of darkness and the kingdom of light. Now, I can parse that and figure out what he's saying. Okay, we don't equate our differences between right and left with God's differences between
good and evil.
Right, between us and him and his holiness, right, and our original sin. But the seating of actors in the French Revolution, right away, I just went, what are you talking about?
Oh, right.
And he goes on and he talks about some young men in the West have become jaded and cynical. Okay, it's really targeted at young men, which he talks a lot about, and he's sticking up for young men in our culture. And he says, as consequences, some young men in the West have become jaded and cynical, with an element of them now rejecting or doubting the received account of virtually anything. And the great danger is now that instead of acting on the basis of revealed truth in Christ, they are in the unhappy position of reacting by choosing between opposing sets of lies. So he's just generally saying, okay, in this postmodern malaise we're in, where we don't believe anything, and apparently a lot of people are arguing that it started after World War II, that, our belief in nothing, societies tend to believe in nothing started because of the horrors of World War II. And it was just coming out of that, the ashes of that. We haven't known, especially Europe has not known what its purpose or meaning of existence. And it rejected the God that could let that happen. But I think he's arguing that didn't happen. It didn't start at the end of World War II. It started way back in the French Revolution. Further on, he says that. So it's a very Doug Wilson-like argument. It's very intellectual. And it struck me that he also talks a lot about classical Christian education. He's very much a proponent of it. And this is spoken like someone with a classical Christian education, but he's trying to reach people that haven't had this classical Christian education. So, and I just want to do one more quote just to show you what I'm talking about. This one right here, if you can see it, I'm highlighting it. We deny that any particular view of the Allied leaders, their strategies and tactics during World War II should be a test of Christian orthodoxy. We further deny that this civic adiaphora may be expanded to cover malice, vainglory, race baiting, anti-Semitism, treachery, bitterness, or hatred. These issues are entirely distinct. This word, adiaphora, Mike, I had to search for a few minutes for that.
Oh yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is, like I said, knowing.
You're gonna leave us hanging. Did you look it up? What is adiaphora?
Oh, it means. Oh, sorry. It means not necessary for salvation.
Oh,
I guess something like that.
Yeah.
Unrelated to our salvation. So I think what he's saying is,
we
don't equate. Yeah, you can argue about the bombing of Dresden or the use of the atomic bombs and disagree and not have your salvation question within the church.
Yep.
But he seems to go further, though, in saying if you start going into denying the Holocaust, you're in grounds subject to church discipline. And maybe even, it says, pastors, you need to deal with these people. But you don't need to deal with the people that maybe would question whether we had to drop the atomic bomb. So you can question Allied leaders. You can't quite, it's getting this murky. And that's one of the critics I heard of this saying, are we going to start? Okay, we're not going to bring questioning the bombing of Dresden or the use of the atomic bomb. We're not going to bring that under the umbrella of the gospel. but we are going to bring Holocaust denial under, or even I think someone was questioning the number, the 6 million Jew number. Yeah. And he said, well, are we going to bring that into the gospel too? Can we find, it leads to some kind of sticky things, and it's a reaction to nobody wants a Holocaust denier in their church, right? Or an anti-Semite. Mm-hmm. But is that the requirement that God has for us as far as the gospel? It's a kind of a slippery slope going on. Does that make sense?
Yes. So I know why he's referencing, obviously, the French Revolution. We're at a similar inflection point. Things could go very, very badly if it's not, if the leadership is not very careful and clear with what's happening. And so, with such a, those who are very happy about the results of November 5th will also include some very crazy bad people, right? It's crazy and bad people on both sides. And so the crazy bad people, some will run with this, and it will reaffirm a lot of their misunderstandings and lies and misconceptions, right? That, think about it this way. They could say, well, now the white people won. Now it means, for example, David Duke voting for Donald Trump doesn't mean Donald Trump votes for David Duke, right?
Or does it mean David Duke is still the same man he was 30 years ago?
Right. There are things that make for uncomfortable bedfellows, or whatever the expression is, unusual bedfellows. I can align with a Muslim that does not believe that children should have their genitals cut off, right? I can absolutely agree. And that's a coalition. It's an unusual or an unnatural coalition, but when we unite around things that we agree upon, we are strengthened. And it's the fringe that takes the momentum to the extremes. And that has to be carefully, what's the term, shepherded, or there are leaders out there that, another example, will be saying, "Oh, I'm not going to name names. I don't know all the leaders and what sides they're on, but there are leaders out there that we've seen over the past few years or administration that are equivalent to those pastors in Germany who are saying, well, this is what the government says we should do. We should follow the government. We should follow it. The Führer is telling us. So this is a Christian nation. And I mean, Germany was a Christian nation, arguably, right? It's not, which the opponents would say, yeah, see what Christianity did? It butchered all those people. Like, no, that was not Christianity. The Christian nation gone astray, gone awry.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, but even then, he didn't say Germany is a Christian nation under the Bible. He said the Nazi Party was now the new head of the church. And I just saw Bonhoeffer. My wife and I saw it.
I almost saw it last night. We almost saw it last night.
Oh, really? Well, Wednesday we'll have to talk about Bonhoeffer.
All right.
Because I got you Wednesday, or you got me Wednesday. But in Bonhoeffer, there's these Nazi flags hanging in the church, right? And there's the pastors up there saying, they had changed the Bible. They had added 2 more commandments to the gospel. Now, that's the thing with Bonhoeffer's, like, you're changing the word. And so everyone think, oh yeah, that's, we're worried about the extreme right, doing that. And I'm like, no. Who's hanging their flag in the church now?
Mm-hmm.
And who's changing the Bible now?
Right. The new commandments being added to the gospel are, thou shalt not question that a transgender is you can change your sex, right? Thou shalt not question.
And that flag's not red with a bent cross on it. It's multicolored and all kinds of, right?
Yeah.
So, so but go ahead.
No. So I am going to look more into this. Doug Wilson knows exactly, like he has obviously he's not right about everything. There are things that I disagree with him on as any human being, but I think he's more right about more things than any other man in his position that I've come across. And he doesn't care who disagrees with him.
Yeah.
He has the fruit of success around him at all times. When I say success, I mean it in the most biblical, spiritual kind of success. They are bursting at the seams in Moscow, Idaho. All the like 5 or 6 churches that they've established are just bursting at the seams, and it's growing and growing and growing through conversions and people migrating there because they want to escape the wokeness that they had in their locations in their states.
Right. And what have they gotten at their location from their pastors?
Right?
You know? Yeah. Well, if the government says we need to close down, we close down. And that's how we love our community. That's how we forget loving each other. we gotta do, or being there for each other. Yeah. So that's, yeah. I do know what I do see for sure why he has the success he has. And he does have an answer. I said he has thought through everything, because I saw some give and take that he had with some people questioning him directly. And he had an answer for everything, but his answers, he's stuck in this kind of classical education thing. And I worry that he is a little too highbrow in his language. He doesn't.
I did want to mention on that.
Yeah.
So there is, I don't remember when I first came across this notion about education, but I adopted it as it, kind of a foregone conclusion that you don't lower yourself to the level of the person across from you. If it's clear to you that you are in a more, educated or informed position, say you're teaching to a certain grade level, talk to them just above that grade level, right? Don't talk to them under that grade level. Don't even talk to them directly. Talk up just above that grade level, because the goal is to bring people up. And if they're not understanding the words you're using or the references you're making, don't stop and break it down. That's on them. They need to follow through. If they can't follow your argument, then they are not loving the Lord their God with all their mind, right? They haven't put in the work. I believe the classical Christian education is the direction we all need to be going in.
Yeah, but
you're not saying.
Well, no, but we're so far away from it, though. We're not going to. You can't yank everything back to where it was when he was in school.
But he's not going to come back to us. He's already way over there, right?
I don't know. You've got to come back a little bit. Like even
I don't
not
think
using. So. I don't know. I had a class.
He has a bunch of books that speak at all different levels, and so
right.
What good would it be for him to step back for the privates in the Army? There's other commanders below him that can deal with them, right? He's like the main general. What's he going to do? Handle all the privates? No, he's going to talk to the next level of commanders, right? That are going to then disseminate it to those.
I guess, but at the same time, you do have to be careful to define your terms, even at that level.
We got the Google machine. Define your terms.
That's true,
right? You got the way back.
But it doesn't make for good reading when you're Googling every 4th, 5th word.
Here's the thing about Doug. I listen to most of what he does, and he absolutely is different. Has different level. Like in a Sunday morning sermon, you're gonna hear some references. You're gonna hear some things that you are familiar. If you're not familiar with it, but you're gonna learn. You're gonna grow. You're gonna learn. If you watch, he does one called Welcome to Clown World, which is a 5-minute video on YouTube, which is just commentary. He does reaction videos to TikToks and stuff. He does that kind of stuff too.
No, and the blog and Mablog.
Blog and Mablog. So that's the one I want to get to. I think blog and Mablog is at the front edge, right? The razor's edge. When I listen to it, everything else I listen to sometimes I listen on 1.25 speed because I can keep up with it. Blog and Mablog, I slow down to 75% speed because injecting so much content with his words are so precisely chosen that he's conveying so much meaning in a short amount of time. It takes me more time to process what he's saying as I'm listening to it. And that is my favorite thing. When he puts out a new blog and Mablog, I'm like, it's like, this is what I need. You know, I need to listen to it. I need to listen to it twice.
What do you say to Chloe here?
All right, let's Chloe, them, if they're able to follow, or if they know what the, well, there's two parts to this. Sorry, it's two parts. Michael, I kind of disagree with you. I have been labeled a perpetual teacher. If I am engaged in a one-on-one conversation, it is important that people follow. One-on-one is not what we're talking about. If I think they may not know, I will ask them if they are able to follow, or if they know what that means, and I ask it in a way. But I understand, Chloe. I'm not talking about one-on-one conversations. We're talking about one of the most important Christian leaders on the planet, who's trying to lead the other leaders. Doug Wilson is trying to guide Christendom into understanding what their role should be. Right? It's
well. Then I would question the deliveries, because I mean, what we're doing. He's doing a YouTube video like the blog, maybe, and he will, in his 5-minute, 10-minute, whatever video, he will cram all kinds of thoughts in there, in these this highbrow language, rapid fire. But that's a YouTube channel. That's for the masses, right? So
his blogs are written. He doesn't write them for YouTube. They're published, right? He writes them so that he's got people that just read his stuff, and then he goes, well, let's do it on YouTube as well. So this is something people are supposed to look at and be able to pore over, and then he delivers a YouTube channel as well.
Okay. So you would say with this Antioch Declaration, this is obviously for other church leaders, to come along. He wants everyone to sign it, and he wants, but I question the distinction he's making, and I understand it. And I would rather be with people who think we shouldn't have dropped the atomic bombs than with people who question the Holocaust. I would much rather be with him. But at the same time, I'm not going to cross that bridge and say that's a spiritual matter. It's really kind of an iffy thing. You know, I talk about using church discipline, or rebuking and reproaching, and making sure these people are kept out. It's not the gospel, but it's close. You know what I mean? And it is, and you could turn around the other way too, with the Marxist influence in churches now. The other side needs to do this with Marxism, right? Yeah. The progressive Christians need to do this exact same thing with,
purge
the mainstream in their movement, not the fringes of their movement. The mainstream in their movement needs this. So, man, maybe that's a good statement of where we are. We're on the right, our fringe we need to deal with, that has these, really troubling ideas. On the progressive side, you've got your mainstream with some really troubling ideas that they don't think is troubling at all. The leadership doesn't think it's troubling at all.
Well, I'm diving. I'm like in the heart of this, like diving into the heart of this with what I'm doing, because what I'm doing, the whole goal of my life, the Solomon Tellurian Project, is to bring people up to another level, their understanding of not just entertainment. Well, merging entertainment with education. What's the point of sitting there and just watching something to feel good or waste time? It's to enhance you as a human being, to teach you important principles through the media that you consume. And so, I mean, I'm scheduled to go back to Moscow to update and everything like that, and I have to still put it on the calendar, etc. Anyway, I need to read more into this Antioch Declaration. I'm a little behind on what it is, so next time we talk, I'll have more.
I was wondering if you had time had time to really look at it, but hey, I needed a topic. Gina,
good. I'm glad.
Yeah. So, all right.
Speaking of being out of time, I love you, brother. Good to see you.
All right. See you guys.
Bye, everybody.